I've actually seen quite a few changes in the directions of where these are going and the evolution of the prebiotics and synbiotics and phytobiotics and all of that. And I think we're really getting better at it and figuring out how to use them. So, I've been really excited to see scientists start to figure out what to do with phytobiotics, actually quite a bit, because a lot of them have been around for a long time, and their limitation, I think, has been knowing how to effectively use them.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Poultry Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast, where we discuss the latest trends in poultry nutrition research and industry trends in approximately 10 minutes or less. My name is Sam Rochel. I'm a co-host of the show, associate professor of poultry nutrition here at Auburn University, and joined by kind of a long-time colleague in the poultry science industry. If anyone is in this world, certainly have probably run across Dr. Lisa Bielke at one point in time. So she's been different places. We were kind of in the same space and time at University of Arkansas, and then she's been at Ohio State, and now in her current role at North Carolina State, still working kind of in the area of gut health, and we'll learn more about that today. So Lisa, great to talk with you. Excited about the conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, we'll jump right into it. I know you've done a lot of work for many years in different capacities on probiotics, prebiotics, phytogenics. So you've got a good finger on the pulse of this topic. I mean, where do you think this is going, and what do you see for the next gen of these types of products and research lines?
Yeah, I've been involved with probiotics for what is now a lifetime for some of my graduate students, longer than I like to admit sometimes because it ages me, but it has been probably about 25 years now that we've been working on probiotics. It was my master's project was selecting some probiotics to effective against salmonella. So I've actually seen quite a few changes in the directions of where these are going and the evolution of the prebiotics and synbiotics and phytobiotics and all of that. And I think we're really getting better at it and figuring out how to use them. So, I've been really excited to see scientists start to figure out what to do with phytobiotics, actually quite a bit, because a lot of them have been around for a long time, and their limitation, I think, has been knowing how to effectively use them. Like a lot of antibiotics, even the early ones, especially, like penicillin, they're a natural product. They come from bacteria or plant sources. And so a lot of these essential oils are essentially the same thing, not just essential oils, but any of the phytobiotics. They're essentially kind of the same type of thing. We just have to figure out how to effectively apply them and what they can do well. And we're seeing that with probiotics also. We can't expect a probiotic to do everything, but early in the probiotic scene, that's what we thought. Like, we're going to give this probiotic and it's going to make everything wonderful. And there were a lot of failures. And so I think we started to kind of lose faith in the ability of probiotics for a little while, but some technologies, especially the Omics type things, have come around and started to help us figure out what we can do. Like, we can use our Omics technologies to see what the changes to the microbiome and metabolism and the changes in the nutritional needs of chickens and turkeys when they're in a disease state, right? And so now we can start to use that to figure out how to manipulate our probiotics and prebiotics and phytobiotics to help the birds get through and recover from that disease. And so I'm really excited to see that coming around, and we're trying to contribute what we can there, right? I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not I'm not, like a microbial engineer, phytobiotic selection type thing. There's a lot that goes into making these, but we definitely try to do our part with the microbiology where we can and use omics technology. So we're trying to stay in that and keep up with it. But every time I go to conferences, I'm always really excited to see what people are coming up with and the technologies that are coming through there. One of the other things that I like to see coming around is figuring out how to manipulate those probiotics or the microbiome early in life. And we're seeing, we're starting to see where, even looking at breeding stock and how that vertically transmitted bacteria can affect the production at the production level, and see like, okay, can we even manipulate the breeding stock, what they're kind of depositing onto the eggshells, or do we need to do that like in vivo and try to manipulate it, and how that that vertical transmission down will really set birds up long term to have appropriate immune responses, or even something that is responsive to probiotics. So that's another technology that we're kind of starting to see pop up in literature and at the conferences.
Proven on the farm, trusted on the plate, let our technologies help make your production goals a reality. Learn from the experts how carbohydrases can improve nutrient utilization, gut health technologies differ by type, and how liquid smoke can light your bird performance on fire. Carey isn't just leading in animal agriculture, we're innovating it.
It's really exciting, and I agree. I mean, we know that there is that transmission, and sometimes it can be problematic. Like we know that transmission is causing issues at times, potentially. So then how do we hijack that same process to a more beneficial? And I think you made a good point, like how initially this started, like we were looking for these products to do everything. And really it's just been about like understanding outcomes to chase. I mean, even, in my group, when people come and say, hey, we've got these products, can you test it? Like, yeah, we can test it, but what do we need to look for? Because if you look at the same thing that for different product classes, you may not see anything, and it may not be because it's ineffective, but it's just rather you're looking in the wrong place or with the wrong measurement. I mean, has that been your experience?
Right. Yes, absolutely. So like you don't want to look for changes in immune function if that's not what the product does. Right. And so knowing kind of its mechanism of action can help us look for the right thing. So I think a lot of us that have been involved in this for a long time in poultry health have done a lot of just collecting all the samples we can and kind of seeing what sticks later. And we're starting to get there. We're figuring it out. Omics definitely help. I love being able to use machine learning and put all the data in there and see what comes out. And it's kind of hard work because you don't necessarily have a hypothesis that you're following, and you have to go into it very open-minded. But we see things. And a long time ago when I started to get into omics technologies, it was proteomics. Walter Bocci, actually, he said, be careful. This is going to turn into a data tsunami, and you can go down rabbit holes just looking at stuff all day long. And he's right. You can be like, oh, where does that go? And follow something. And it's nothing, but you get interested in it and follow it. But it's that just sitting down and taking the time to follow nothing, because eventually you're going to hit something. And that was 10 years ago. And now the databases are getting better. The machine learning and the AI is getting better. And so we're able to actually not follow so many rabbit holes. And it's really cool. I think we're going to start making really big strides now as the technology comes around.
That's awesome. And I've kind of seen this. I don't follow it closely as you do, but I've seen kind of the same thing. It seems like we're getting more useful information. And that's kind of on the outcome side. Like as far as the product side, I mean, what do you view as the next generation of products as far as, at least how these are working? I mean, are we changing how they work, or are we changing just how we evaluate kind of similar mechanisms in the past? What's your response there?
I think it's both. I think we're still looking for the same outcomes in a way, right? It all comes down to growth performance, preventing disease, sustainability, I hate to say alternatives to antibiotics because it's kind of worn out, but the kind of non-antibiotic production, what can we do to prevent the use of antibiotics, really is what we're doing. I don't think we have an actual alternative to antibiotics that can treat a disease as it's ongoing. I haven't seen any technologies there yet, but what I am seeing is a shift away from trying to do that, where we're going to try to set the birds up to be healthy. We're going to understand what's going on. Like, we do a live oocyst vaccination against diarrhea. We know that the birds are going to suffer some in that realm. And so what can we do to help them get through that? And then let's say if they do get necrotic enteritis after that vaccination, how can we help them recover from it? And understanding like, okay, we've got to bring our variation in bird size back. We need to get their growth curve back on track. What can we do there? Like what's happening in the gut and how to get them there. So I think really we're kind of shifting our focus to be more targeted to what's actually going on in the flock instead of let's try to treat the disease once it happens. And that mindset change, I think, is helping us reach those outcomes that we've always wanted in a better way.
So with all that, I mean, what would you say kind of is going on in your lab and others you think are really changing the trajectory of probiotics, prebiotics, phytogenics from a big picture?
Right now, I've got some kind of side projects going on trying to collect kind of our preliminary data to get the big funding on it. We're working on looking at the microbiome shifts that happen during disease states and really using that data, not just to look at the microbial changes, but put it in those taxonomic databases that will tell us what's happening in terms at the genetic level. So we can say, okay, we're shifting, kind of our short chain fatty acid production, or we're going towards more, like more lipopolysaccharides show up, or what are they doing? Some of the different metabolites that come out of the bacteria, especially ones that affect nutrition for the birds. Because, I think very well, nutrition in disease states is really becoming a big thing. You've been working on that for a while. And so I really see that as sort of the next frontier in poultry health and sustainability type measures. And even during stress states, we haven't done anything with stress states yet. Disease is a stress, but also like heat stress and water consumption and how can we affect that? I'm hoping to eventually be able to put more omics into it. Right now, microbiome is kind of the easier way to do it. But if we can eventually get more omics into it, then, that will help us target better what we're doing. So yeah, that's what we're doing on the diseases front directly. And then the other thing is this vertical transmission of bacteria. Right now, the big one is Enterococcus. Birds are actually hatching with Enterococcus. And so how can we work at the breeder level or the hatchery level and try to decrease that, what's showing up in the birds, and trying to figure out exactly what is the pathology of it and how does it create disease in the bird, and what can we do? Because I think if we can figure it out for one, we're going to figure it out for others too. And so what can we do to keep this bacteria that's normally just in the gut and not a problem from, kind of translocating into circulation and causing disease elsewhere? So those are the two big projects that we have ongoing in terms of probiotics and gut health, and what can we do to make our birds healthier.
Awesome. Well, that's very exciting. We know that hatchability and livability are like the major things in our industry right now. So I'm certainly everyone's excited to see where this goes. So thanks for sharing, and we'll look forward to upcoming meetings. We got PSA coming up in your backyard, and then I know you're active in publishing this as well, so we'll keep an eye out for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
Well, I appreciate it, Lisa, and thank you all for listening to another episode of the Poultry Nutrition Black Belt Podcast. If you enjoyed the episode today, please like or subscribe so you can catch the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.